Can you guys hear me okay? See some lurkers. Thank you for stopping by on this unusual stream. Let me get a drink of water real quick because I just ate this like little dessert thingy for lunch. So I'm like got sugar in the back of my throat. All right. So let's get this switched over. Assuming camera works now, which is good. So, hello, this is a slightly unusual stream. I usually do not stream at this time, but I figured I might as well do it because I will be airbrushing today anyway, and we had some leftover work from last night because I experienced some technical difficulties. So, after we had finished masking all this stuff and we were right about to paint, my camera like just didn't want to turn on and connect and just wasn't working. But as you can see here now, we're doing fine. So we are good to go today. We're just gonna continue what we had done last night. Well, continue like after we had finished. For those who may be new, we're just checking in at this odd time. We are working on this figure, Mejiro no Mero-chan, and we are going to be painting like the black pieces today. So I already did these ones, but we'll be working on the frills, we'll be working on her little shoes, and then she has this like area on the back, well, I guess this. So she has this here, and we're gonna be painting that too. I don't expect this stream to be very long. We're just gonna be going over these. But for VOD purposes, I figured I'll just label it like a 0.5 or something, and that way we have a record that it was done. So all the pieces are ready to go. You can see here, this is all the stuff that we finished last night. I won't show you all the pieces, but we're basically just ready to airbrush. So let me put these back, and if you hear any different sounds or my dog barking, that's because I have the window open and it's an unusual time. So let's see. All right, so we have this color, which we're gonna be using. This was pre-mixed and I already made it, so we're pretty much going to be base spraying this color. And then I have a couple notes here that I made when I was working on some other frill pieces, like this one. So at some point, we are going to shade these with GX2 Ueno Black. And then I also added a magenta layer on top. So I have this primary magenta layer 034 from Gaia Notes, and I put that on because when I mixed this color, I don't think I added enough pink and it just wasn't looking the right color that I wanted. So we are going to be starting with this, shading with this, going over with the magenta a little bit, and then we'll kind of adjust it from there. So not too much to do. Hey monkey. Yeah, it's an odd one, I know. I usually, like I'm working right now, but we had some time, so I figured why not. I'm gonna pull a piece over here that is done so I can just compare the color to it. I don't think I showed this off last night, but this is one of her sleeves that's fully done, so you can see it's all shaded and pretty much ready to go. So we'll just be putting the black against this to make sure all the colors are consistent. And I'll keep this piece to the side. So let me grab my glove. Yep, there we go. And we're actually gonna start out using my Sotar 2020. So we'll be using this brush mainly because I just want to cover a small area, and we're not gonna be going all over the kit, but we'll see. I might switch it out. So let's get that on. Hey, how you doing, Sea Crease? Oh, good to see you. I was like, I don't know if anybody's even gonna like bother. I'm doing this for like recording purpose, but I'm glad to see that some people are around and able to chat. Also, I won't be able to chat at some point, so hey, thank you so much, Destructo. Yeah, it's an interesting stream. This is some leftover from last night. I figure we might as well wrap up and get to it, so we're just gonna be doing some stuff. I lost my train of thought when I heard and saw Kirby. Alright, I also noticed that my needle is a little bit out of place here, and so I'm just gonna make sure everything is in line before we start. There we go. Alrighty, so, oh yeah, now I remember what I was gonna say. There will be some portions where I'll be muted just because we are airbrushing, and yeah, I don't want you guys to have to hear this. Let's see. Oh, I have a phone call. I'm telling you, daytime. What is going on? Looks like spam. Let's decline that. Did I stop by Katsu over the weekend? No, I did not actually. I heard that the turnout was pretty small. Actually just didn't even have time and completely forgot about it, and so sadly I didn't make it. Hopefully I'll be able to go to cons like in the summer. We'll see what will happen. I'm going to PAX in April, so that will be like the big test, is if April is like safe, and then if so, we'll move on and go to more cons in the future. Okay, think we're good. Oh yeah, I need to get my mask. So always make sure you have your fume mask on to protect yourself from these volatile organic compounds. It's always, safety is important. And so yeah, we already pretty much covered everything. I'm just gonna start and we'll put pieces one by one. Stream will be muted in that time, so if you have questions or just want to chat, feel free to drop it and I will either type it out or respond once I turn off my booth. All right, mask is gonna go on. a moment. Thank you for those of you lurking. I'm reading your conversation, but I also am holding an airbrush. So thank you so much for stopping by, even though this is like an unusual time. What we're gonna do now, you may have noticed me like pointing at one of the dresses. I'm going to switch my airbrush real quick. Right now I'm using my kind of smaller one, so we're able to get those really precise like areas, but I'm gonna expand my needle size, and that way we can spray a larger area on the back of that skirt. Otherwise, just gonna take too long with this one. And so it kind of speeds up the process when you have a bigger area. So let me clean out this brush real quick. We're actually gonna go back to the Sotar in just a moment. But to get that whole base coat down, we need to switch it up. How are you guys liking the current Genshin event? I've finally started making my way through it. I really like these events that are exploration based. It's like, I guess technically like you've already explored the area, maybe not. But I just like opening treasure. And so I'm not minding this event. There's some events that I'm just like, oh god, but this one is pretty okay. And you get so many fat primos, so I'm just like all over it. But I still haven't like finished it. There's one area I need to explore. Okay, this is not ripping off right. Yeah, I love like the just exploration. That's one of the main reasons I even play this game, is just walking around and like, you know, unlocking stuff. And so I'm really enjoying it so far. There's a lot of lore in this area. Okay, recently unlocked Inazuma. Oh yeah, that's such a beautiful like set of maps too. Like I remember when it just came out and it was like, oh my god, there's so many areas in Inazuma where I'm just like, this is so beautiful. Like the forest. Oh man. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think it was like Shinju Forest or something. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then Kokomi's Island. Like when you walk and you get into like Kokomi's area, it's just like, wow. So cool. Okay. Airbrush is being weird again. I've been having this minor issue with it lately. Oh, I also might not have cleaned this. Yeah, it's kind of like sticky. Oh, there's something green that came out. That might be why. Always clean your airbrush. But CD just went around exploring. I get lost. I recently got my world up level 5. Yeah, mainly, so like besides the story, I guess all there really is to do is like explore, right? And so a lot of times I just kind of slowly pace it and work my way through the world. Like there's so many, like I play it every day, but there's still so many like puzzles and things that I haven't unlocked just because I'm kind of slow. And a lot of times it's just like looking at my character or you know, doing the dailies. Like the daily stuff is always, you know, getting your resin out of the way, etc. Lately I'm killing the Hydro boss guy every day because I'm saving the materials for Ayato because he needs those boss materials, and so it's just like little stuff like that. But yeah, it's fun. Can't complain. Got good husbands and wives and all sorts of stuff. Alright, going to start airbrushing now. Make sure that this is working. Yep, we're good. So what we're gonna do is just spray the front and back of this, and then I'll turn off the whole setup again, and we'll switch back to the Sotar because we're gonna start the shading process. And there will be lots of switching back and forth because we're gonna need to do the magenta overcoat and blah blah blah. And there's any number of things that have to happen. So, all right, gonna put this back on. Oh yeah, let me read this real quick. My husband and I play every day trying to get maximum BP and primos. Yeah, that's kind of how we play too. We like do our daily resin, and then if he needs like something explored, then we go and like I help him out with it because my characters are stronger. I do a lot of artifact garbage, and so it's, yeah. I'll talk more about that later. All right, this is going on. take off the whole thing. Okay, so everything is base coated now, and what we are now going to do is transition into shading and color alteration, etc. I have a list of specific order this has to go in, which I just tend to follow it. If I do something, I do everything else the same way, and then hopefully the pieces end up looking the same. So let me clean this out real quick. I'm actually, after this, I'm going to look at the base coated pieces and compare them to the other frills that I have that I did finish already, and then we can see how much we need to change. The lighting is also a little different in here because it's during the middle of the day, so that also kind of skews your vision sometimes. Alright, this should be good. Let's see. I'm going to grab a dropper. Actually, let's turn this off. Get this back on. So we'll be doing our shading with the Sotar. Put that on. Turn that on. Okay. And before I mix paint, let's look at it real quick. So this is the color that we currently have, and it looks pretty dark. This one is still a little lighter, and it may be too hard to tell. Yeah, it's probably too hard to tell, but the color on the left here on the frill is a little more darker and more intense and a little more pinker in tone, and so yeah, we'll do the shading and adjust and go from there. Okay, so got this. Need some of this. Oops, it's just, nope, not broken yet. Okay. I don't think I'm gonna need a lot. I think I'll only mix one dropper's worth of this shading color. We're just mixing black, and I'm gonna add a little bit of clear color in here to thin it out just a bit. Okay. We'll add a full dropper of the clear. And now we're gonna use GX2 from Mr. Color. This is Ueno Black. This is just a black that I have on hand. Any black will work. Usually I don't shade with black, but given this is such a dark color of the frill anyway, black is really the only thing that sticks out that well, so. Okay. So with the clear in here, it kind of thins it out a little bit, and I'll test it on my towel. Okay. So, in terms of where we're going to shade, the whole piece isn't going to get covered in black, obviously, that's not the point of shading. So we're going to do the bottom of the foot, so kind of under here, under the foot, kind of coming upward, and then the edge of the frills, so along here, not on the ends here, so trying to gesture, not along the rounded edges, but along this like line portion. And then for the masked outline, probably only like right here and here. The rest, it doesn't really need anything. So not too much needed. Let's see, how expensive does the airbrush and stuff go? It really depends on how like brand name and how all out you want to go. I want to say safely, you can probably estimate around $300, $400, because the booth itself is about $100. The compressor itself is like anywhere $100, $250. It can go up. And then the airbrushes itself, those really vary. So if you can have designer airbrushes that are like $800, $900, or you can have the Amazon ones that are like $50. So, but then that does not factor in like all of the paint needed, all of the thinner needed, all of the little droppers needed, and the measuring cups, and the fume hood, and your fume mask and all that. So it gets really pricey. Yeah. Usually I tell people set aside like at least $400, $500, because that way you can get a good like starter one. You can get stuff that will last you. So the cheaper you start out, the faster you're gonna have to replace it. Like for comparison, this is my Iwata, which I think was like $150 130 or 150 when I bought it. This has lasted me like over, I don't want to say over a decade, it's not been that long. Definitely over 5 years. And only now is the needle like starting to kind of get to a point where I need to change it. This is my cheapo master brush that I got for like 50 bucks on Amazon. And the quality is so obvious. It like I can barely change the needle out without it like spluttering or having issues. And so I really, really recommend like starting out with some decent tools to get you there. Let's see, I make cakes. I was thinking about airbrushing. I think food grade stuff is a little different too. This is like pretty intense, like Iwata and all the brands are meant for paint. But if you're doing food coloring and stuff for cakes, there are definitely cheaper ones that are meant to spray like water-based stuff through it. So I would look into that and see if there's anything cheaper. Yeah, that's a whole other set. It's related, but it's like there are other alternatives for that. And in that case, if you're just spraying food coloring, like you won't need the volatile fume and all of that booth and stuff. I think. I'm not that familiar with cakes. Let's see, what's the smallest paintbrushes you have? Oh gosh, I go down quite a bit. In terms of like the absolute smallest, I don't know if it has an actual name. Well, it has a little description. It's a Tamiya brush I have, and it's item number 87172, and it's this small. That's probably the smallest paintbrush that I have that I use regularly. It's also been used heavily, so it's starting to fray a little bit, unfortunately. I've been trying to like be good about it, but certainly this one is probably the smallest. And then let's see, I got cheapo Frills on. How did I airbrush with it? Well, okay, that's just related to context. All right, I think that answers all of the questions that came up. But if you guys have any at any point, please feel free to, you know, chime in. Hello, Panda. How you doing? It's an odd stream time. Let's see, a tiny need to get one of the, yeah, this one is actually really, I use it more often than I think, and it's mostly because I'm working with chibi tiny things, and it's really good at like refining those tiny eyelashes and stuff. I don't usually go like brand, so I don't usually buy specific Mr. Hobby or Tamiya brushes, but this one is meant for this type of purpose, so it's really been really helpful. I use a lot of liner brushes. I tend to go in with those ones quite a bit. I actually need to do a bunch of upgrades on my brushes. I was going through them and trying to salvage some of them because they've just been beat to hell, and I haven't bought new ones in a long time. That's the thing about this hobby. Like, you're always buying new stuff. You're always running out of paint. You're always running out of thinner. I feel like I make an order like every month, but I'm not, like, I don't feel like I'm doing a lot, so it's just crazy. All right. With that, I think we're good. So we're gonna do that shading really quick. Should go on pretty smoothly. Let me put a little bit in here so we can just get it done. Let's see how this comes out. Yep, we're good. So math's gonna go on, muting will go on, and we will reconvene after this shading is done. over that black again at some point after we do the magenta because it was going on pretty thin, which is great. That's what I want, but at the same time, it was also kind of hard to see, and so I don't expect that you guys would have been able to tell the difference, and I had to like look at it under very specific light to see what I was doing. Oh yeah, see, I had a comment here and I started reading it, and then I figured I would address it later. Let's see. Because I'm in 3D printing, most of them are one big piece. Oh, okay. Oh, venturing into 3D printing, that's exciting. Yeah, we actually recently got a 3D printer as well, and yeah, there are so many models that like, they're just structured like one piece, and then you have to basically do a ton of masking to make them, you know, look good, and that's troublesome. So, let's see, I can't wait to see the magenta. I think, don't get too excited. So, the purpose of the magenta is basically to just kind of alter the black a little bit, because what I ended up mixing was a very neutral, kind of dark black gray, and so because of that, it doesn't really match well with the kit. Like, you can put it side by side and it just kind of looked kind of boring, and so the magenta basically, the purpose of that was to make this a little pinkier and to match up with the sleeves of the kit, which do have that purple shading, like an overlay. That's exactly what it is. Imagine like a transparent layer that you're multiplying in Photoshop over something to alter the color a little bit. We're just doing that in like a 3D space with an airbrush. Yeah. And then let's see, is ours filament or resin? We actually, resin. Yeah, it's a resin printer, so it's got the liquid and you gotta finagle with all of that, and so there's been some trials and errors, and we're using it for cosplay stuff, so like to print some certain things, and so it's been really cool so far. It's definitely a very involved process, and there's a lot of also safety concerns you need to be concerned about because uncured resin is very highly toxic, so you just gotta be wary. Alright, so we're gonna put just a little bit of magenta in here, and this goes on pretty thick from what I remember. It goes on really quickly, so I'm going to switch my airbrush out yet again, and we're going to do an all over coat on some of these pieces. Very light, but all over. Let's see, do they do good for fine details? Yeah, it's very, the printer is hot, like capable of very fine prints. I forgot the terminology at the moment, but yeah, it's like way more intense and detailed than a filament printer, and also easier to sand, and that's part of why we got it too. What are we cosplaying? I don't personally cosplay as much anymore. My husband is gonna be doing Genshin cosplay. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it's a polearm character, so we'll see how it goes. If it all works out, then I'll let you guys know. I don't know if it was like confidential or what, so I'm not gonna say it, but a tall polearm character from Liu. Oh, I have a bunch of texts. One second, guys. Some of these are school, so I gotta check it. Give me one moment. On the school and work clock, actually, because it's such an odd time. All right. Okay. I think we're good. I think I just did this, but we'll check it again. Yeah, we're good. All right. So we're gonna do a thin magenta overlay or layer on the black we just did. And what I'm actually gonna do, this has been peeling up for a while. I don't know if you guys noticed that during stream, and that's potentially like danger zone. I don't want that to peel up during when we're spraying, so I'm gonna just, how should I lock this down? Let's see. Yeah, like this should be okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That does not impact anything. So that should keep that pressed down at least until we're done. And I need to put these back up. Oops, this is the wrong one. Okay, that goes here. This. here. Okay. That. And I think we're good to go. So let's put this magenta in here. Gonna go over it all very lightly and just kind of adjust as needed. You're also gonna see me be like bringing this piece up so I can compare the colors and make sure that they're in the same area of color. Also, just kind of FYI, if you do this, if you gloss your pieces, so you can see this piece has been sealed, it's got this glossy layer, your colors are gonna turn out a little more vibrant than when you just spray that paint onto your kit without it being top coated. Basically, sealing and glossing the piece kind of brings up the vibrancy, and so there's a little bit of wiggle room you gotta have there, because you don't want to make it look exactly like this glossy piece, because if you do and you spray it glossy, then it's going to be even more vibrant than like this piece. So there will be some back and forth I'm going to need to do, and I might go a little bit less intense with the magenta, just so when I gloss it, it'll look the same or similar. All right, going back up. quick and easy. I just wanted to alter the color a little bit because what we're gonna do now is shade over it again, and then we're gonna go over the base color one more time. And you might have asked, well, like, why did we do all of this when we could have just laid the base color down and then, you know, done the shading and that was it? And one is because I didn't mix the right color that I wanted at first, and so that's an element of it. The other part is that this is an airbrush, so you can layer multiple layers. And so the purpose of laying the magenta down is because the next layer of gray that we put on is going to have that magenta shine up through it. We're putting on very thin layers and the color is slowly changing as we do that. And so in the end, we're gonna have this kind of magenta-y dark purple gray that I did not mix initially. A lot of these steps are just me like doing processes and then finding out I need to change things a little bit. But at that point I'd also like sprayed 2 of the pieces and gotten the frills done, so I figured I might as well do this for everything. And I did see your question if I had my booth custom built or if I got it from Amazon. I am using a booth that I got from Amazon. It's literally like one of the first results if you just type in like airbrush booth, and it's this one that has like a little blue filter in the back, and it's pretty standard setup. It should be like around 130 or something maybe, although last time I think we checked the price had gone up, so I can grab a link if you want, or you can just search it and post a link in the chat and I can double check to see if that's the one. A lot of people do custom build their own setups and they have, you know, nice filters they can take out in the back. So that's great if you have like a particular space you need to accommodate, or if you want a bigger booth than average, because mine is pretty small, all things considered. Like it's, you know, I don't have my ruler here, but it's a little bit more than a foot, maybe like 1.5 feet, and so that might not be enough space if you're working with larger models. In my case, it's enough because I'm working with these tiny chibi kits all the time, so I haven't had any issues. I guess the only thing would be making sure that you check on your filter and replace your filter regularly. Oops, because that can accumulate dust over time, and so I try to keep it as clean as possible. Clean, in quotes here, but I've seen some really nasty booths, so. Alright, just mixing a little bit more black. I think last time it was a little too thin, and I want to lay it on a little bit darker, so. And let me take a look at some of these colors now that the paint has had a chance to dry. We're pretty close though already. I can see that we're almost there, so. There is also, at some point, I want to go over this a little bit more. I'll add a little bit of a darker color because it's, some of these areas I missed. I can see the green coming up through just a few bits of it, so. Okay, this is done. I have this plugged in. It's a beautiful day out today though, and so I'm glad to have my window wide open and ready to spray. Alright, I'm actually going to switch this out too because it's getting kind of troublesome. I can't see the color accurately when I've got all this spray all over. Yeah, spare filters are always good to have. You never know when you need to switch stuff out. Okay. We're going to do the shading again and then go all over with some of the base color, and then I think that should be it. We'll let this dry and I'll peel it off a little bit later. I don't want to peel it off right after we sprayed, but we'll give it a chance to settle. Okay, this is good. Okay, we'll put some black in here. Let me test this out real quick. Make sure it's not too thick. I don't think I mentioned it recently, but we are spraying between 15 to 20 PSI. That's kind of the range that we're in. I'm more up on the 20 side of things right now, so around 20 PSI is definitely more than enough. And anywhere between 15 to 20 in your sink. Oh yeah, I hope it doesn't get too cold or start raining again. That would be, I want it to just be spring already. Part of why I am doing this beautiful kit. Alright, muting myself and let's do some final shading. All right, gonna do one last quick switch out of the color, and that should be it. We're just gonna overlay with the base again. Just was trying to get a little bit more shading in there with the black because it wasn't coming out that vibrant. Thank you. Yeah, I think the colors are starting to come together. It's, you know, definitely something when they're like the whole piece is painted. That's when it really, you make the call of whether it's good or not. So I think we're on a good track. And the way that this will go is that I plan to seal these tonight, sometime way down the line tonight, when after these I've had a chance to dry out for a couple hours. They may not be fully cured, but that's still enough to put a top coat on. And then tomorrow the stream will proceed as usual, and we'll work on whatever else needs to be airbrushed. I think tomorrow, either tomorrow or next Tuesday will be the last airbrushing stream, because we are pretty much almost done with the big stuff. Alright, switch this out. Actually, no, I don't think I'll switch it out. I'm just going to put on the last color with my 0.2, because there's a lot of areas that need some small detail. So yeah, this was a little more involved. You know, there's definitely, you could just put on the base coat and then shade it and be done. But again, I had a bunch of other things I did to those frilled pieces, so I want to make sure it was consistent. All right, let's see, will you stream it putting together and taking photos? The putting it together, yes. We will do the whole gluing and assembling part live on stream after everything is said and done and top coated. The taking photos, probably not, just because I would like have to figure out the setup and do it all that way, and I do kind of a lot of R&D before I take photos with things, and so sometimes I like describe how I did it or how I made certain decisions, but for the most part we'll only do the final assembly and the showing off, and then conclusions and wrap up and all of that. So that's where we're headed in the somewhat far future. We've still got a lot of detail work we need to do, and I think I already mentioned it, but we're going to be painting the eyes on this one, and so there'll be like a couple streams alone dedicated to painting eyes, because that's a layer by layer process that takes a little while to accomplish, so lots to do. All right, last bit, I'm going to start this up, and let's get it going. right. I think we're pretty much good. I've been kind of checking the color and comparing it to the frills, as you saw, and we are in line with finishing up. So what will happen is I'm going to let this dry a while, and I'll peel all the tape off and gloss it over, and then tomorrow we'll, reconvene and see how it went, and there might be some detail work we'll need to clean up later because I won't have time to do it. That will all happen in detail phase. So, wow, interestingly, I'm looking at the time and it ended up being like a full stream. So that's kind of like, oh, I'm glad I did it today. Can you imagine like trying to start out yesterday and then it goes like another hour? I don't think I would have been able to handle that. I was so tired, but I feel a lot better today. So I'm glad that we were able to do this. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it for the stream tonight, or not even tonight, this afternoon. Same time we'll do tomorrow, so this is not a substitute stream. We'll just have 3 streams this week, and I think we're all good. Hey, how you doing, Nikolai? I was like, I recognize some of those kanji, but not all of them. So thank you for stopping by, even though we're just wrapping up, unfortunately. I'm glad you could make it, and yeah, I would have been so tired. I can't even imagine. I'm glad that we got what we did done. And let me just put the 2 pieces together so you guys can at least see the frills so far. These are unsealed, so we got to be a little careful, but it's looking very cute. We'll just peel it all off, and then we'll be, good to go. And I guess at this time I'll have to finally figure out what we're gonna do for the front, because this was the piece I was unsure about. And what should I do? Should I do the fuchsia? Should I do the orange? I don't know. I'm so like, I don't know. Yeah, no worries, Nikolai. It's kind of a weird time that we decided on today, mostly because we had leftover work. But the next stream will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST. So I'm not sure what that will mean wherever you guys are, because we get a lot of people from all over the place. But I think it would be like 7 PST, unless we've gone back in time again and it's a 3-hour time difference. But 8 p.m. EST, you can figure out the difference from there. And if not, feel free to just watch a VOD. I always appreciate it, no matter what form the content comes in. And yeah, happy to have done this with you guys. Looking forward to seeing some of you tomorrow. And I hope you all have a great afternoon or night wherever you're at. And I think that's it. So take care, you guys. Have a good one.